this is what our finished stoplight is going to look like. Hold on, let me. Woo. Right here, this is what our stoplight's going to look like. Okay, so think about it for a second of all the stuff that we've talked about with processing and all the things that you know about how we add code. Which of those shapes do you think we are going to want to add first? Talk to your neighbor quietly. Which shape do you think we need to add first? Hold on, talk to your neighbor quietly. Yeah, okay, I heard several people say it, which is awesome. So let's go ahead. Remember, hey guys, with open processing, we are going to need to create a sketch. So we're starting fresh. So click create a sketch. What is the first thing that we do when we create a sketch? PJS. PJS. Check your neighbor's screen. Did your neighbor click on PJS? If they have not, point to it on their screen so they know where to click. Okay, PJS. Good. Then we're going to remove this old code, and what do we need to type on our top line? Your name. A comment with your name, so it should be 2 forward slashes, and then type your name. Great. Let's go ahead and save it right now. So click on the save, and we are going to name it 6.2 Stoplight. 6.2 Stoplight. Okay. There's not anything about our stoplight that moves, so it is absolutely okay for it to be a static image, which means we don't have to mess with the void setup and the void draw that we learned at the end of class yesterday. We're just going to type straight in here. Can you guys think from the 2 programs we did yesterday, what was the very first thing that we did? Not the background. There's something we did right before that. We set up our canvas. Okay, so as we go through the lesson today, I am going to have us put comments. Okay, so remember, a comment is something that the computer totally skips over. It's there for the people that are programming. And as we're working and processing, it's going to be really helpful for you to add comments as you go. So my first comment is going to say set up screen. And I want you guys to type that into set up screen. Okay. Does anybody remember the command we used to set up our canvas? Starts with an S. Size. There you go. Size, open and close parenthesis, semicolon. Remember, I want you guys to get in the habit of doing the open and close parenthesis, semicolon right away, and then coming back and adding information in the middle. For our stoplight today, we're going to make it 200 pixels wide and 400 tall. Okay? The other thing that I'm going to have you do right here is for all of our shapes, we don't want an outline, because we would have to set the outline color for every single one to match our fill, and that's just a pain. So think back, what did we use over the last 2 days to do the outline color? Fill was the inside, stroke. Okay, so think, I haven't told you guys this. What do you think we would do if we wanted to not have a stroke? What did you say? No stroke. That's perfect. So look at your processing. You're going to type in no stroke with a capital S. Open and close parenthesis, semicolon. You don't put anything in the open and close parenthesis because we don't need to tell it a color if we don't want it there, right? It's just no stroke with a capital S, just like that. Okay, so that's getting us started. From that conversation I had with your neighbor, what did you guys decide was the first shape we needed to add? This orangish, mustardy color background, right? So what can we add to make that happen? We could do a background. We could also do a rectangle. Okay, so let's just do a rectangle for fun. Do I need to set the color of it first, or do the rectangle first? I need to do the color first, and then it's going to impact every shape I add after that. So we are going to first add a comment that says mustard outline. Okay? And then what command did we say we used to change the color? Fill. Okay? And I'm going to just tell you that I'm going to use 250, 172, and 15. So 250 red, 172 green, 15 blue. Okay? If you prefer to use a different one, that's absolutely fine. But that's what I'm going to do. And what was the command that we needed to do to make this shape we're wanting? Rect. Very good. So do rect, open and close parentheses, semicolon. What are the first two pieces of information it needs? Our X and Y. The X and Y for rectangle is of the upper left-hand corner, right? So what's going to need to be the X and Y of my rectangle? 0, 0, right? I don't want it to move anywhere. I need it at the very top. Okay, what about my width and my height? Why 200, 400? Yeah, because my size is 200, 400. So it needs to match that. So I'm going to put it at 0, 0, X and Y. I'm going to make it 200 pixels wide and 400 pixels high. Go ahead and hit run. And you should show up with just that gross color on your right. If yours is working correctly, can you please check in on your neighbor for me? Is there anybody that's getting an error that needs help? Okay. We good? Nice. Good job. Okay. What do you think we need to do next? Which shade goes next?
We need the black one.
We need the black one. Very good. Okay, so let's go back. We're going to do this same process. Okay, so I'm going to do a comment that says black background. Can I do the rectangle? Not yet. I got to do the fill, right? What fill is going to give me black? 0. You can do 0, or you can do 0, 0, 0. It's going to give you the exact same color. It's easier to just type it in once. Good. I will also point out, you guys see how I'm kind of leaving a blank line between these sections? The computer doesn't care about that. Actually, in JavaScript, I could put out all of this on one line, and it would run the same because it uses the semicolons to know where a line break is. That spacing is for the people that are looking at the program. Okay, so that's called white space. I'm going to put white space between each of my sections to help me as a person see where one section stops and the next section begins. Okay, so now that I have my fill set to black, I'm going to do a rectangle, open and close parentheses, semicolon. I want you and your neighbor to kind of play with numbers a little bit and see if you can get that black rectangle to show up similar to what I have on my screen. Just kind of experiment with different values. And I would encourage you, once you get a rectangle to show up, change one of the numbers at a time. Doing small changes like that is going to make it easier for you to figure out what arguments belong to what thing. Okay, if you go in and you change all 4 and you run it, and you change all 4 and you run it, it's harder to problem solve. Okay, I've got a few people that are looking awesome on here. I love it. Very good. Okay.
Oh yeah. What is the...
I want everybody to at least try. So I need to see a black rectangle on everyone's, and then we'll kind of go into it a little bit more. Okay, Damien, yours looks pretty good. Tell me what you did with yours.
Okay, I did rectangle 30, 20, 150, 367.
30, 20,
150,
150,
360.
367. Okay, and let's run it and see. It's pretty good. right? Pretty good. I am going to make mine 20/20. Okay, so I'm going to the right 20 and I'm going down 20. So if that's the case, we can use pretty simple math here. If I want to have 20 on the top, I probably want to have 20 on the bottom, which means I can take my total height, subtract 20, subtract 20. That means I want my height to be 360. Same thing with my width. If I want 20 on the left and 20 on the right, that's 40. So I can take my width of 20, subtract 40, and get 160. Okay, so I can math it out, and that's what I have. Your numbers don't have to match mine exactly, as long as you're kind of trying and experimenting with different things. Okay? Good. What should we do next? Does it matter really which circle I do next? Doesn't, right? Because they're not overlapping. So I don't have to worry about that as much. I'm just going to start with the red because it's up there. So do a comment and say red light or red circle, whatever you want to say. What fill gets me red? 255, 00. All the red, none of the green, none of the blue. Right? All the red, none of the green, none of the blue. What shape have we used to get a circle? Ellipse. E-L-L-I-P-S-E. E-L-L-I-P-S-E. Okay. So let's think about our X and our Y location. First, for an ellipse, not like a rectangle. A rectangle, the X and Y is the upper left-hand corner, right? For our ellipse, it's the center. So if I want the center of my ellipse to be right there, what do you guys think would be a good X location?
0.
0 is going to make it over here.
100.
Why 100?
Because it's in the middle of 200.
It's the middle, right? If we're 200 wide and I want it smack in the middle, 100 is a great X location. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to make it at 100. Okay, the Y we can experiment with a little bit. And the width and the height are going to be the same because we want it to be a circle, right? Stoplights don't have ovals there, they're circles. So experiment with Y, width, and height and see if you can get your red light to show up like we've got on the example. Let me put it up here on the screen. There's your example. See if you can get your red light to look like that. Okay, remember you're going to have to put 2 lights underneath it, so you don't want it to be too big. The X, yes. The X will be 100. Okay. All right, I am going to put mine at 85 for the Y. And I'm going to make it 110 by 110. Bless you. Again, yours does not have to match mine exactly, as long as it's looking like a stoplight-ish. Okay? So, now what I want you guys to do is you are going to get your yellow and your green light. You're going to need all 3 of these lines, so you can just copy and paste. But this is going to be for green, yellow. Right? And then you can copy and paste, but this is going to be for green. So what you need to figure out is, what is my fill going to be? Do I need to change my X? I don't, right? Because they're all along the same X. So my X is going to be the same. Do I need to change my width? No. Do I need to change my height?
Yes.
My height?
Oh, no.
No. What is the only thing I need to change? My Y. So you guys figure out what fill and what Y. And you can kind of talk to a neighbor, see what you guys got. I will tell you, to get yellow, it's all red and all green. but no blue. Gives you yellow. All red, all green, no blue. And then for green, I mean, we have a channel specifically for green, so that color should be pretty easy to get, right? Okay.
I like.
I will tell you your Y location for your yellow you can get using math.
Well.
Think about your height and where on that you want your yellow to show up. And then you can math to the answer.
Height.
Neat and fresh. That's Stoplight Character.
Okay. All right, so my yellow fill, I'm going to do 255, 255, 0. For my green fill, I'm going to do 0, 255, 0.
Why is the green closer to the yellow?
Okay.
Why is the green
So if I
closer to
want
the yellow than the red?
my yellow light to show up in the middle of my canvas, what math can I do to get there? How tall is our canvas?
400.
400. So halfway down that would be what? 200. 400 divided by 2.
No,
200.
I can't.
It's good. It's good. Okay. And then for this Y, if this was the center and it's 115 below my red, then I can just take this plus 115 to get my Y. There we go. Okay. Again, yours doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to match mine
It's gotta
exactly.
be perfect.
It's got to be a stoplight
No,
It's gotta be perfect.
with stuff reasonably placed on it.
It's gotta be perfect. It's perfect.
Okay?
It's perfect. Look at mine. It's perfect.
Mine's perfect.
They don't line up. Look at mine. Mine is perfect.
They don't line up correctly.
Hers don't line up correctly. Mine do.
The yellow and green are closer together.
Why are the yellow and green close together, Damien?
I see you guys problem solving and thinking through stuff. I love it.
By the way, I did 315 on the green one just by a guesstimate. And it was perfect. 315. 315.
You're at 202.
Perfect
yeah.
guesstimate.
Not
Perfect
200.
guesstimate. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Last thing that you must add to your stoplight. If you guys see our example, see where it says your name or student name? For your projects that you submit, we're going to require that you add your name to the project. Super, super easy to do. So I'm going to come down here to the end and I'm going to do a comment that says name.
Name.
What color is it on here? It is white. What fill gives me white?
White.
0, or what?
1.
255. 0 gives me black. 255 gives me white. Okay? 1 would be a very, very dark gray. Very, very dark gray. Okay? The command that we use to get letters to show up is the same that we used for codesters. Text. So do text. Open and close parenthesis. Does anybody remember what was the first thing text needed in order to work in codesters? Before that, it needed the what? It needs the string. Okay, so remember, if we say it needs a string, what does that tell us it needs to have around it? Quotes. So do quotes. Please don't put student name.
Already did.
Actually put your student, like your name. Okay?
Already put it on.
And then what do we think the second and third parameters are going to be?
The height.
X and Y. It needs to go where it needs to know where to go. Okay. For text, the X and Y is the same as a rectangle. It goes to the upper left-hand corner. So I'm just going to put it at 15, 15. Okay. So there we go. Your name should now be showing up. Okay, so we have used comments and white space on this, not because the computer cares. The computer could care less, but because it makes it easier for us as people to read the program. right? So the second part of the assignment that you guys are going to work on today and a little bit tomorrow is I'm going to give you some starter code. And you're going to have to go through and add comments in white space to that starter code. Okay, so make sure you understand the reason there. It's for us to be able to see and to know what parts of the code are accomplishing what on the screen. That's the purpose of comments, not because the computer cares. Okay, first to turn this part in, you guys have a submission doc on Google Classroom. I'm asking for you in this box right here to take a screenshot of your stoplight image, including your name, and paste it in. For the first picture, just give me your stoplight. Okay? And then the second picture, I need you to take of your code and paste it in. So that way I can see the picture you created. I can see the code that you used to create it. Okay?
Go for the comments.
Put your picture, your stoplight here and your code here. Okay. You good? Okay. Save it. Because remember, processing doesn't auto-save. Save it. And then I'm going to go back to my processing screen. And I'm going to create a new sketch. Okay, so click create a sketch. Hold on. I want to give you guys time to get caught up. A few people are on different spots. What is the first thing we do when we open a new sketch? PJS. PJS. Please don't forget. PJS. Okay. Delete this, and what do I add? Your name. Good. Comment with your name. Let's go ahead and save it as 6.2 character. Character. Okay. I'm going to click submit. First thing, you know when we were working in Codesters and when you moved your mouse around, it showed you the coordinates of where your mouse was? Yeah? It doesn't do that on processing. And when we do stuff where you're having to place lines and place locations of stuff, it makes it so much easier if you have that. So we're going to add that. And then I'm going to give you starter code that you're going to work with. But in order for our coordinates to work correctly, we have to do the setup and the draw that we learned at the end of class yesterday. Okay, so first thing, does anybody remember the word that went at the beginning of it? Void. You guys are awesome. Void. And then what word was it? Set up. Open and close parenthesis. Open and close curly brace. Void setup. Open and close parenthesis. Open and close curly brace. And then press enter to move it down. Okay. And then what was our other section called? Void draw. So go underneath there. Do void draw. Open and close parenthesis. Open and close curly brace. All right, I need everybody to go past your last curly brace and add a comment that says, do not add code beneath this line. Nothing that you add should go underneath that. Everything should go above it, okay? So hopefully that comment will help you make sure that you're not making a mistake there. Do you guys remember what did we do in our setup?
We size
Your canvas size.
Size, perfect. So do, ooh, whoops. Size, open and close parenthesis. And I want you to make your size 200 by 200. It's not going to be a big one. 200 by 200. 200 by 200. Okay, I'm also going to have you add something. So I'm going to type it in and then I'll explain to you what it is. Say rect mode with a capital M. Rect mode. Open and close parenthesis, semicolon. And then inside your parentheses, type center in all caps. So it needs to look exactly like I have on mine. Okay. All right. This is what that does. You know how our X and Y coordinates for our rectangle are up in the upper left-hand corner? Rect mode center makes the X and Y the middle of our rectangle. So as we're placing stuff, it just makes it a little easier to have that be the same for our ellipses and our rectangles. Okay, so that's the only thing that changes. I only need that to happen one time so it goes in my setup and not my draw. All right, now in your draw, you're going to add text. Okay, and in this text, oh, I'm sorry, hold on. First, I want you to set your fill to white. So that way, it doesn't matter what else we do. We're always going to be able to see this text because it's going to be white. Dang it. And then go above that.
Oh.
Sorry. And we're going to add a background. Background, just make it a darkish gray. I'm going to do 100. Okay. So we have a background that's going to cover anything up that happened before. We're going to set our fill to white. And the text, we're going to concatenate 3 pieces of information together. Okay. The first one is going to be the variable we used yesterday, mouse X. So we want wherever our mouse is on the x-axis to be reported back here. And then I'm going to add or concatenate the string space 0. And then I'm going to add mouse Y.
I get it.
Okay. So what it's doing is it's going to figure out where is the X location of your mouse. It's going to put a comma and a space, and then it's going to figure out where's the Y of your mouse. So the X and Y coordinates of wherever your mouse is going to show up on the screen. Okay, and then just like we did with our name, we're going to put it at 1515. Okay, so if everything has been done correctly, and we run, as I move my mouse around, it's updating with the coordinates of wherever my mouse is. If yours is good, can you please check on your neighbor and see what your neighbor needs help with? And I will come around and...
I managed to get -1.
There you go.
You too?
Yeah, I managed to get
Okay.
-1.
Everybody good?
I had -7.
Aren't you getting -7?
-17.
Aren't you getting -17?
I slammed my mouse off of it fast. Just like flicking it around. I got -17.
Look at you. You didn't need me. Good job. Okay.
I got 7 -4.
Okay. I mean, for the most part, you guys are rocking this. You're doing awesome.
Why is my other
Right
error
mode.
so bad?
That's hard. It's hard.
There you go.
Negative 14.
Yeah. Okay. So now is the part that we are going to go to Google Classroom. And I just posted it, so if you got there quicker than me, you're going to copy this code. Okay, so copy the code that I gave you on the Google Classroom stream. Come to processing, and you are going to add that code between your text and the end of your program. Okay. When you paste it in, you're also going to have to fix your indentation, so tab those lines over so they're all lined up. And when you run it, it gives you a cute little guy. Here is your assignment, and we're going to work on it today and a little bit tomorrow. This is what you need to do. You are going to add arms using the line command, which you guys have a line in there that is creating the legs. A line needs to know the X and the Y of where it starts and the X and the Y of where it ends. Okay, so you're going to add 2 lines, 1 for each arm. You are going to add eyeballs using the point command. Point needs to know the X and Y location that you want the dot to show up. Point. Okay? You're going to add appropriate comments, just like we did with our stoplight. Look back at the starter code that I gave you and space it out with comments and white spacing. That is a required part of the assignment. Required part. Okay? Make changes like background, stroke, fill, add some color. I've had students give them like a little hat. Whatever you want to do. What? Yes. You're welcome to change anything about it that you want to change. When you're done with it, replace the X and Y coordinates with your name and submit it. Okay? But remember that comments and white space are required. Okay? All right. Get busy. And don't forget, we added the coordinates so you can use your mouse to figure out where do you want his arm to start? Where do you want his arm to end? Okay, so make sure you have met all of those requirements, then follow the instructions to add your snips and submit it when you are done.
Yo, what?